Hello and welcome to the Exclu Toy Awards 2018 presentation as we take a look back over the nominees and those that you voted as the best that 2018 has to offer. Joined in this endeavour with two co-hosts today. One is Instagram's own Work More or Less, Jason Young, and 1/6 shooter, Trevor Williams. So let's get started. Let's dive right in with our first category from last year's Toy Awards, which is, of course, there we go, best line nominees.
Good.
So looking back at the best lines, so Hasbro's The Black Series. Great shot there by Jason to kick us off. Mythic Legions by Four Horsemen Studios. We've got Hot Toys Movie Masterpiece line. We've got Mezco Toys 112 Collective by Ian Keat. And we've got the Fig Arts line from Bandai Tamashii Nations. So 5 very solid contenders to kick us off. So we start here with Hasbro's The Black Series. So I'm going to throw it straight over to Jason. Jason, what do you think of 2018's Black Series offerings?
I mean, Black Series being one of my favorite lines, there are a lot that we had this year. It's almost hard to choose. I mean, it's nice. I think the highlight of this year was really just kind of completing the Bounty Hunters line. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Same, yeah. So Trevor, what do you think, mate?
Yeah, definitely the Bounty Hunters are great. A lot of great stuff that came out with the Black Series.
Yeah. I mean,
unfortunately, I had to spend a lot of money. So.
Of course. Yeah, so a great show for them. Great exclusives and common variants as well. So we move on to the next evergreen line, pretty much, which is Hot Toys Movie Masterpiece. Year on year they've been building up. 2018 was just another stellar year for them. Trevor, doesn't take a genius to guess by looking behind you. This one is obviously going to be a topic for you, mate. So what did you make of last year?
Yeah, I mean, Hot Toys just keeps getting better and better. The sculpts looked great last year. Some amazing stuff, including the Luke that we're looking at right here.
Yeah.
Best ones. They just keep getting better and more expensive. So.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yes, a line that, being here in the UK is not quite as easy to pick up. Sure, it's available, but a line that I'm yet to kind of get my hands on. Jason, do you manage to pick up any last year at all?
Last year, not anything that I think was released last year, but
right.
I mean, I saw a lot of the reveals at Comic-Con.
Yeah, of course.
As to expect, they're all amazing in the sculpt.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so moving on to the underdog of the category, I think it's fair to say, Four Horsemen Studios Mythic Legions. Trevor, I know yourself, you kind of would use the word pioneered, I suppose, and when it comes to the photography, this line, the majority of the stuff that I've seen definitely come from you. You open my eyes, to the line. What is it that kind of draws you to them so much?
Yeah, I'm actually a little late to this, but I love them. I mean, I just went nuts getting them last year.
Yeah.
They're incredibly well constructed, and they're customizable. All the arms, all the joints, all the pieces come off, and you can combine them with other figures and custom.
Oh, nice.
Is a big deal with these things. It's created a community around that, and it's incredible the amount of reach that they've been able to have selling direct to people. You know what I mean? Not even
especially
selling direct. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, like you say. So hopefully 2019 we'll see more great things come from them. Again, it's a line when you compare it just to the other four here. It is quite easy to say, well, they are the underdogs, but it just goes to show, put out a good product, they get the reach and good things can come of it. So another line last year, which again, every single time I saw a pre-order, a few minutes later, you'd see sold out. That was Mezco Toys 112 Collective line. They've stepped up their game quite a lot last year. A lot of big licenses. Jason, do you manage to pick up any from 2018 at all?
I actually haven't, because I know it's one of those things. If I do, it's a slippery slope.
Of course, yes.
Higher price point. It's harder. It's harder.
Yeah, definitely.
But I've seen they just shoot so beautifully.
Yeah. That's the thing, being surrounded by great photographers as we are on the team here. I know Sam, who's taking the shot here. He keeps up to date with the releases. They are, like I say, they're building, they're getting a lot better. Every now and then, perhaps you do hear one where there's a couple of quality control issues. But I think across the board, 2018, was a great showing for them. And another company that had a fantastic showing last year would be Bandai and their Fig Arts line. Of course, here in the UK, we do a lot of work with Tamashii UK. So, firsthand, I get to see majority of the releases that hit the West, including the Iron Man and Thanos that was shown here. Just from first-hand experience, the detail they pack into the 12-inch figures, it's just phenomenal. Jason, I know you had a few on hand last year as well.
Yeah, fortunately, I've been able to pick up quite a few of them, and it's become, originally I was like, okay, these guys look good, but as I've collected more and more and more, it's like, man, I've got to kind of pull in the whole crew, the Avengers especially. Like they're really, really, really nice. Like you said, a lot of details, the expressions, additional faces. Some are hit or miss, but I'd say most of them are look really good.
I think it's, I think the 12-inch line, regardless whether it's Bandai or Hasbro, faces, especially human faces or humanoid faces, is perhaps where some they slip up. Obviously Hasbro now is the face scanning technology. I think Bandai, you look at the Iron Man, so any helmeted character, they just seem to kind of floor it really. Amazing stuff. Trevor, I saw you picked up, is it the Hulk, from obviously one of the biggest releases of last year. What did you make of that?
I picked up a lot of them. I just haven't shot them yet.
Right.
I can't. They're like popcorn. Like I pick one up and I'm like, I'm just going to supplement this. This looks a little better than the Marvel Legends version. So I'm going to use that. And then I end up picking up another one. So I have Thanos, I have Iron Man, I have Doctor Strange, I picked up the Hulk. And the Hulk is incredible figure.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, so those are our first 5 nominees for our best line of 2018. So let's have a quick look and see who you voted as the best line, the best offering of last year.
Symphony.
Here we go.
So so we're really excited to reveal actually a massive surprise, really, especially to myself, that Mythic Legions, the underdog of the group, was able to pull ahead. So, a big kind of surprise when you consider the scale, and like Trevor, you said, how these guys are selling direct.
Yeah.
When you consider, just the sheer size of someone like Hasbro or Bandai, or, Hot Toys especially, to have someone like Mythic Legions be able to, take the top spot. It's interesting, yes, it's 31%, but, 31% was enough. To kind of allow them to clinch the spot.
It's amazing. They're a company that it's not a franchise. There's not recognizable characters that are in movies, and it's fantasy. It's like D&D stuff, and it's supremely popular. It's huge. We posted everywhere to tell people about the awards, and I have to tell you, when I posted on the Mythic Legions groups, people went nuts. Helped tip them over because they were a rabid fan base, So
I mean, that's a great thing. Obviously, they've learned that. Like you say, there's no. Yeah, it's an interesting point you there make. There's no license there. There's no franchise, like you say. No big characters are instantly recognizable. So they're obviously doing something right. Like you say, the quality's there. I really love what I didn't realize how interchangeable, the figures are. The bits and pieces on the figures, and that's a great draw. Especially, someone like myself who perhaps has to be a bit more picky over what I pick up when it comes to, money. What do I want to buy? To have something which is a bit more versatile that I can kind of perhaps swap out, with other releases down the line. That's a huge plus, and one I hadn't even, considered before. So a massive congratulations goes out to Four Horsemen Studios. Hopefully later on in the year we can sit down and have a chat with those guys, and have a recap of their 2018, and hopefully they can preview 2019 for us. Okay, so
cool.
So let's move on to our next category of our Toy Awards. So here we go. Our next category was the best dio or prop. So we're looking at backdrops here, or props that you could, make great use of in your photography. So we have the Extreme Sets Cave, which is the first of 2 Extreme Sets in this groupings. We then have NECA's Bone Throne, shot here on NECA's official channels. We have the GTP Space Wars 112 Star Pack, shot here by Jason. The second Extreme Set, which was their Subway Terminal 2.0 that released in 2018, and it was seen everywhere. The Nova ubiquitous UB, this is the 1LS version, the light up version essentially, shot here by Tham. So again, another strong grouping of 5 products that we did see widespread. I'd say, overall the Bone Throne would have to be perhaps the underdog one that perhaps you hadn't seen quite as much of, is in its own niche. But I mean, you've got huge props here, which we see, day to day. So we'll start with the Extreme Sets. Cave diorama. Jason, what do you make of this?
I unfortunately haven't been able to pick up any of the Extreme Sets, but again, when you see so many times, and Trevor, I know you have some like kind of the prop type things. when you see those in the photos, like some of them look, until you see the behind the scenes, some of them look like there's some actual really nice depth. And like the subway, the cave, they all are unique. I love that you can smash them down.
Yep.
And tuck them away. Space.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you say, the depth. So space and depth. I mean, obviously there's two in this category, so they had a very good year. But like you say, especially I think here you can see on the subway terminal shot here, the depth that they are able to pack into what is essentially just a card backdrop, is really impressive. So as I mentioned, the underdog, the Neckar's Bone Throne. I mean, it's shown off phenomenally here with this shot from Neckar's official channels. So yes, it is a niche. But it's not a month kind of goes by where you don't see another variant of Predator released in one form or another. So it looks great. I don't think any of us here perhaps pick the line up ourselves, or perhaps not too too experts on it. But like I say, it's the underdog. It looks fantastic. The detail and the sculpt in there looks brilliant. It sits fantastic with the rest of the line, and hopefully we'll start seeing a bit more of that come up on our feeds. So GTP Space Wars, and this doesn't really need introduction. And I will point out it's the 112 Star Pack, which released in the latter half of last year. So Jason, this is your own shot here. What is it that you love about them so much? Why are you drawn to them so much in your photography?
Well, even since, so I picked up when they originally came out, even since they've continued to perfect kind of how the walls connect, which is kind of a pain point. But as you can see, just like in this photo and other photos that you've seen throughout the community, they just look really, really magnificent. When you put them all together, you're able to put kind of a backlight behind those light walls. You can create, even with just like 9 panels, you can create a pretty interesting scene. So there, being a Star Wars fan, being a Black Series fan, you got to have these. So
definitely. It's the versatility, like you say. The nine walls kind of all you need to be able to create something. Right. I've seen behind the scenes both from yourself, from Spencer, where you're actually using far less. Using 3 or 4, and just by manipulating camera angles and perspectives and point of views, you can actually get a really well done shot. So they do go a long way. Price point with those, you perhaps something that people might pause on. But I think, all they need to do is just look to the community, look at shots such as this, and you can kind of see the worth there straight away. So we've touched on the subway terminal here. Again, it's the depth. Another shot here by Spencer showing it off. I know he's quite a big fan of these. But like you say, Jason, it's the depth that they're able to kind of pack in. 2018 was great for them, and hopefully 2019 will be more of the same. So a backdrop that I was actually able to pick up myself, although I didn't pick up the LED version. I picked up the standard one. Nova's ubiquitous diorama case. Fantastic in terms of its versatility as well. If you can frame figures against it, it's a very standard backdrop, is how I would describe it. You can get a whole range, whereas Space Wars is more geared naturally to Star Wars, and sometimes other lines can look a little out of place with them. Nova kind of are the perfect antidote for that. Now, yes, there's the price in here. My one when I picked up was £100 here in the UK, so I'm not not the hard conversion of that, but I'm guessing it's like $120. Trevor, do you know how much it is? Have you seen?
It was, I think it was, I don't know if I almost picked it up like when it first came out, and I passed on it. There was some issues with putting it together and taking it apart and re-putting it together in different configurations. It still looks fantastic, and I'd still like to pick one up. I thought it was like $100 here, but I could be wrong.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it might just be like a straight over pricing, but like you say, speaking personally, the clipping together and the unclipping, it's not something you can do quickly. As I soon found out, I had something set up. I then had to clear the whole day to undo it and put it back together, and my very, very sore fingers afterwards. Once it's set up and it's there, it's fantastic. I mean, Sam here showed off the light versions, which looks even better than the default version. But like I say, it is a bit of a pain to kind of pull apart. So hopefully something they'll learn this year. I mean, I've seen on their socials, I don't know if you guys have seen it as well, they've teased a kind of a bit of a bigger project. So obviously we'll start to see more of that. Hopefully, like I say, the clips will be something that they'll address, which actually is a good point to bring us back to your point, Jason, with Space Wars and how they kind of clip together. So when I got my hands on the 112 starter pack, the clips there were actually far more easy to use than what I imagined they would be. It's actually quite simple, to put it together and take it apart. So that is a great thing about those. So, our second group a second group and yet another strong contendership here for best dire prop. Out of the 5, we can reveal that you voted in as your number 1, and it was, of course, the grand reveal, the grand drum roll. Here we go. So yeah, no surprises there really. Space Wars won it by quite a large margin here, 40%. So when you consider 4 other nominees shared the remaining 60% there. So Jason, throw it back to you on this one. It's your shot. You see so much work, especially with yourself, Spencer, Isaiah as well. The amount of shots, scenes, and setups that you're able to get. Like I mentioned a minute ago, 3 or 4 panels worth. And you're able to, as evidenced here, just how far you can go. I mean, the doorway I love. That's something I really wish I could kind of get my hands on. The doorway is so versatile in terms of placing a few other walls behind it to give that added depth. But yeah, so just your final thoughts on it, mate. Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're great, and obviously they do lean specifically more in the Star Wars universe, right?
Yeah.
I've seen people use them in really creative ways where you're just using the light panels for like lights in a hallway.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Really limited. They're a great product, and all these shots, they're using pretty much the same elements, but they have a different feel.
They're super versatile. I mean, you look at these shots, and you've got 6-inch. I've used them for the Hot Toys shot in the corner. I've used them for backgrounds for that. Pops, the Beast Kingdom stuff that Jason did on this. So I mean, they're really versatile for a lot of figures.
Yeah, definitely.
I should state, in my Beast Kingdom shot, I just realized that doorway was something I manually made. So that's
John, because you fooled me.
But they are making one, and it's in production. They're getting the samples back, apparently, from what I've seen. But it looks even better than that. So I'm anxious to see they continue to build. I think there's some news they're going to be announcing soon. But they keep, adding products to the line and keep refining. And I think it's a great product. I mean,
that's a good point. I mean, when you look to 2019, this is a product which perhaps I wouldn't use the word, I wouldn't use the phrase it's got its work out for it, but it's definitely, there's some imagination needs to go into how they can expand the line to ensure that 2019, is different from 2018. I think it'd be very easy for them to continue to put out slight variations on the panels. I think it's quite easy, different tooling. That's not too difficult to do.
Floors and ceilings.
Yeah, yes, anything like that. Anything which can kind of, push this into something new, something different.
Right.
Obviously, only time will tell. But yeah, so another really strong contendership with Space Wars and GTP Toys coming out on top. So, another fantastic year, hopefully, ahead for them. So we move on to our third group now for our Toy Awards. And in this group, we are looking specifically at the best pack. So how we've gone about this is essentially is 2+ figures in a pack. So we've kind of been a bit relaxed on, our groupings of that. We've looked at what you class as your standard action figures, as you'll see here in our nominations. So the Ant-Man and Yellow Jacket from Hasbro's Marvel Legends line. Shot here, brilliantly by Dan, Tiny Epic Photos. We then have the Cobra Kia, Emperor Palpatine and the Royal Guard 3-pack, which looks awesome there. Incredible detail on those. And our third nominee, again from Hasbro, due back in the Sand Trooper Hasbro, had a fantastic 2018. It's kind of been evidenced here. Hot Toys Vader and Tarkin. Really nice to see Hot Toys actually jumping on the bandwagon and putting figures together, especially relevant figures, as we see here. Looks great. And Iron Man, Strange, and Thanos Marvel Legends 3-pack, also from Hasbro. So 5 more great contenders. Again, like I mentioned, we were a bit more relaxed when it came to our specifications on here. So you do have some fixed posed with the Cobra Kia stuff, and you do have obviously your general articulated lines from Hasbro and Hot Toys here. So I'm going to throw it to Jason for our first one, Ant-Man and Yellow Jacket. What did you make, just from the pictures alone, what have you made of this double pack, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this in person. I don't personally own it, but the packaging is beautiful as a pack. And then also the figures. I mean, what Dan's done here in this photo is really stunning. But yeah, I mean, I've always been impressed with the Marvel Legends and all the details they're able to pack into, basically $20 US price point.
Of course.
This being a pack, it's more than 20, but per figure, if you kind of average that.
I mean, Yeah,
great.
definitely. Like you say, a good point there with the packaging. I think, it's easy for us to overlook and just focus on the figures once they're out. But especially Hasbro's MCU, the 10th anniversary of Marvel Studios, that line in particular, especially the Ant-Man and Yellow Jacket, they are so well done. The boxes taking a note, I suppose, from how the Black Series, the overall pattern on the Black Series, how you can stand them all side by side and all the numbers all link up, in the same way that they had the artwork which went across all their 10th anniversary boxes. So nice to see Hasbro taken note of that. And yeah, so let's have another look at the Cobra Keys. This is the Emperor Palpatine and Royal Guards. So a 3-pack here. Our third Star Wars nominee in this group in here. So just know as Marvel and Star Wars dominated. Trevor, what do you make of Cobra Keys? They're fixed posed figures. Are they up your street?
Yeah, but they look great. I saw them at Toy Fair last year, and I don't do statues. Statues. I have a couple, but they're really tempting. I mean, because they really look good. I mean, guards. What do you need them to do? They just stand there anyway. So I mean, motion. But I think you could do. It's a challenge photography wise, to do some varying things with them. But they look great. I mean, they would look amazing on the shelf, and it's just a cool. Those 2 red figures, bookending the Emperor, just looks really hot.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely, like you say, as display items, I think that's where they shine. That's where they look fantastic. I know Patrick Wonderbunk, who obviously is with us here on our team. He gets his hand on quite a lot of these Cobra Key releases, and what he is able to do, and what the community is able to do with these fixed posed figures, is really great. Like you say, it is more challenging. It is, more creative thought has to go into it. And perhaps the longevity isn't there. Perhaps you're not able to take the figures as far as you are with articulated ones. But, like you say, when it comes to display, they tick all the boxes there. Yeah, exactly. So on to Hasbro's second offering in this category, and that's the Dewback and Sand Trooper, shot here by Spencer. So it was great to see Hasbro, take a little step aside from the realms of perhaps normality when it comes to doing standard figure releases, and actually not only do something additional like a vehicle, but actually do the Dewback. Look fantastic. Jason, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited when they kind of started announcing the packs or the vehicles. And I think this falls under that line too. But it comes to the Sand Trooper, of course, which, I mean, you can always just have another Sand Trooper. That's totally fine.
Of course.
So the variation in the shoulder pauldron is really nice. It's kind of like a grayish, dusty gray. But then the Dewback itself is just really, really well articulated, more so than I thought.
Yeah.
You've got multiple joints on each leg. And then also, I think they were saying, like during one of the panels, that this is the first figure that they've had an articulated tongue with. So
nice.
Right?
But yeah, it's an interesting point because they could have quite easily, toned down those articulations. We've seen it before in some other lines. I know, speaking from experience, Bandai's Pacific Rim releases with the kaijus, perhaps they haven't had the best articulation. It really is, shoulders and waist, and that really is it. So to see someone like Hasbro actually go the extra mile, the extra little bit of fan service, it's great to see, a really worthy contender. So, let's move on to the Hot Toys, and this is going straight to our resident 1/6 enthusiast. So, Trevor, what did you make of the Vader and Tarkin 2?
Oh, this set is so gorgeous, man, and it should win. Tarkin figure I've waited for years to get, and it did not disappoint. I mean, really amazing likeness. It's like a little Grand Moff Tarkin on your shelf. It's incredible. The Vader comes with it as the icing on the cake. It's probably the best Vader that Hot Toys has put out, I think.
Nice.
And the chair is nice. It's just a great set. I mean, the tailoring is beautiful as usual, but that sculpt is just mint.
Yeah, but definitely. I mean, 2018 did seem to be the year where, face sculpt in particular, was right up there with priorities. It's something which we saw improved, from Hasbro, from Hot Toys, like you say. I mean, Hot Toys, yes, they have it down, but every now and then you see a figure, especially I remember when I first saw the promo pics of this release. Yeah, like you say, the likeness of Peter Cushing is absolutely incredible. I'm sure it's even better in person. So, Again, another really strong contender, another Star Wars 2-pack. And finally, in this group is the Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Thanos Infinity War triple pack from Hasbro. So yes, you are getting 3 figures here. Again, I know when this was first announced, there was a little bit of contention with the fact that you were having a re-release essentially of the Iron Man and the Build-A-Fig Thanos. Now, yes, okay, there was a few variations in the Thanos, but overall, I think it's fair to say as a pack, you could go from very easily not having any of those characters, and all of a sudden, you've got 3. You can replicate all the Titan scenes when it comes to the photography work. That we kind of used to seeing. So that's just as a pack on that ground alone, it looks fantastic.
Doctor Strange looks fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to say having an updated Doctor Strange. I mean, the likeness on Ben coming back to say looks brilliant. So I think yes, okay, there was a little bit of contention when it first announced, but I mean I haven't heard anything bad since. I think it was just another solid offering. As part of the MCU 10 line. So yeah, yes, it does seem that Marvel and the Star Wars did dominate last year when it came to packs, but I suppose that's not really, a surprise when it comes to franchises, how easy it is to kind of, pair characters up. The Dewback and Sandtrooper there was perhaps, I think I'd go out on a limb and say Hasbro made a very good choice. Like I say, they could have dumbed it down, they could have toned it down and just released a very static Dewback. But to actually go the extra mile, packing the articulation and the detail, makes it, I say perhaps the strongest out of these 3. But, Vader and Tarkin, they're looking at me now. So I say those words.
Yes.
And it's glaring at me. And yes, they do look fantastic. So, okay, we can only now reveal what you voted as our best pack.
Fire when ready.
Which was, drum roll, here we go. Oh. So there we go. Accidentally talking out a bit too early, but there we go. The Sandtrooper and Dewback with 44%, so quite a large, chunk of the votes when you consider. But like I say, in terms of what perhaps you could expect and what we did get, fantastic. The articulation, the detail, like Jason, like you said, even the little details on the Sandtrooper, just a fantastic figure. So Jason, as I'm guessing you have this in your own collection. So, what are your final thoughts on it? Do you think it was a worthy winner out of our 5?
Personally, I liked it because it's something different. It's not necessarily a figure. We can buy figures, we can buy packs of figures, we can buy statues.
Yes.
It's something a little bit more unique, special. And as you can see, these are just great pictures. Even if they're not the star of the photo, they just provide a really, really nice element to build out to your shot. And then also I've seen a few people actually weather this figure. And there's so many details that you don't see until you get a little bit of grime on there. So even beyond the figure as it is right now out of the box, you can even make it an even more spectacular figure with a little bit of detail and love and attention to it. So I like it. I agree.
Yeah, I like it.
Plans for this thing. I have not shot this yet, but it's a great figure. I love it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that was our best pack. So we move along now to what would be our 4th group of nominees in our Toy Awards. So in this group, we were focusing on the best exclusive. Now, I know some may be groaning. There may be some contention here. The exclusives can always be a bit of a, funny area. I mean, myself here in the UK, particularly so, we obviously generally end up paying, over the odds, to secure figures. I know in the US, perhaps it's a little bit different. They are a bit more readily available. But especially overseas, outside of the States, especially with a lot of these Western releases, they can be a bit of a pain. So I think that's all.
It's a pain everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But it's all the more reason for manufacturers to go the distance, go the extra mile, and make sure that if you are having to work a little bit harder to get the figure, that it's worth your time ultimately. Okay, so we just start rolling through our 5 nominees for Best Exclusive of 2018. So we start with Hasbro's Gamorrean and Guard. There really should be no surprises there at all. Straight off the bat with a hugely strong contender. Followed by Mezco's DLX Joker, which was a web exclusive for Mezco, shown off here by Spencer, which is followed by our 3rd nominee, Diamond Select Toys Thanos. And that might be a little bit of a surprise because Diamond Select Toys perhaps not always in the limelight, but definitely a worthy contender in this category. Our 4th nominee, well, what can I say? The TMNT 4-pack from Comic-Con, again shown off here by Spencer. And our final nominee to round out the group was again Hasbro's Zuckuss, which was a Disney Store exclusive in the end, ultimately, when it did see release. So I think this perhaps is our strongest grouping out of everything, everything on our Toy Awards. I'm going to throw this straight over to Jason. This is your shot of the Gamorrean Guard. Just run us down your thoughts, mate. What do you make of it?
For another kind of a larger pack versus just a standard release figure, a lot of extras. So you've got the soft goods, you've got the multiple weapons, you got articulated mouth, jaw, and then again all the details. I'm so impressed that we continue to see these figures. They keep kind of upping the bar, but as so far, keeping the prices relatively appropriate to what you're actually. So this is a beautiful figure. I love it.
How easy was it for you to find? Was it something that you were able to pick up relatively easy, or did you kind of have to go out your way to to get hold of him?
It took it maybe took a couple of weeks before it kind of hit, and then after that, once I saw one, they were gone for another few weeks, maybe a month, and then they started kind of coming back and more fully stocked. I think I can still find one out and about, but.
Right, yeah, but I very much agree with what you say. The soft goods, the detailing, and going back to our intro point, really about how manufacturers do need to kind of go the distance with exclusives, so that if you are having to go out of your way to kind of pick something up, that it's worth your time. And the Gamorrean Guard, I think, is a great example of a company, noticing that and taking full advantage of it. It is something special, so why not really push the boat out, really deliver something great. Trevor, was this something you were able to see in hand yourself?
I did. I have two of them, and I actually have three. I didn't find them. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things, like people pick them up for you, like, hey, do you looking for this? Yeah, I found them. Took me again like a couple weeks to find, and then I walked in one day and there was probably 8 of them on the shelf just sitting there. So they were pretty readily available after a while.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. So moving on to perhaps a company which is becoming synonymous, really, with their exclusives, especially last year, Mezco, their 112 collective line. We saw a variety of exclusives, whether it be event exclusives or, as is in this case with the DLX Joker, a site exclusive. As I mentioned right at the very top of this video, every time near enough you see a Mezco pre-order, the excitement's there, the buzz. It doesn't take very long at all, before it's sold out. So again, they had a fantastic year. The Joker here, especially, is looking to be the cream of the crop. The DLX version, just the sheer amount of accessories that comes with the figure. I mean, Spencer, I know, is a massive fan, especially of the DC, the Batman. Linus, he's shown off here. But yeah, a fantastic figure, a very worthy contender.
I've never experienced the excitement or the buzz before it's sold out, so I don't know.
Yes, that's the thing. Again, here in the UK, it's just even more impossible. Yes, okay, we can get them, imported in, or there are sellers here who can get them, but that initial kind of buzz perhaps isn't as prevalent here. But personally, I haven't had one in my hands before. I'd love to. I think with Mezco, there's always that kind of skepticism. I mean, just the scaling. I mean, me personally, I look at that and I think, how can that be 12-inch? Just by looking at it, because the detail they pack in. I was speaking to Dan recently, Tiny Epic Photos. I know he's had experience with them, and he's, very rightly has described them as mini Hot Toys, essentially, when it comes to the detail that they're able to pack in. So I'm really hoping this year I can kind of get one in my hands, perhaps have my eyes opened a little bit. So just quickly moving on to our next nominee, actually, which was the Diamond Select Toys, their Marvel Select line, Thanos, based off a loose comic variation here, so not MCU based. So this was a Disney Store exclusive. Of course, this benefited from the Infinity War, the Avengers hype, the current, landscape as it was. But as a figure on its own merits, fantastic. One I was able to pick up here in the UK, actually. So our Disney Store in the UK usually lags behind the US when it comes to exclusives. But this one, that was there as soon as I seen it online. It was there. A fantastic figure, nice and bulky and chunky. I know we've spoken before about how the Diamond Select toy line is more chunky. Yes, okay, the scaling perhaps isn't quite there when you compare it to Marvel Legends, and perhaps that isn't why they're, aren't quite so popular. But if you're looking for detail, especially a character like Thanos, who is, a larger character, it's just what you want scaling wise. I'm going to guess that this was readily available for you guys. Trevor, did you find that?
I didn't pick it up, but I think, you know, I saw it. I don't frequent the Disney Store too often, but you know, I thought about picking it up for a while and you could get it online. You could buy it in
Yeah.
a Disney Store online. So I think it was pretty easy to get.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Jace, have you had many Marvel Select or anything really from Diamond Select toys? So that,
I don't,
so
I don't
no,
really,
no.
but I mean, every time I go to, you know, Barnes and Noble, Disney Store, I see them, and I'm always tempted because they look so good. They are
Yeah.
larger as far as scale goes.
Yeah,
But like for this figure, I think he would look great with Marvel Legends, with even
Yeah.
the food art stuff, just because he's so big.
Hmm.
And I actually like the comic look of it versus the MCU. So the details are there. The sculpt's really nice. I think it's relatively well articulated too. So yeah, I would definitely consider this figure.
yeah, most definitely. I mean, like you say, when it comes to the larger character, he does scale really well, with especially the Bandai Fig Arts line with the Marvel Legends. So, you know, a larger character where perhaps you aren't worrying too much on the scaling, you know, it nails it in perhaps one of their best releases for a long time, actually. So hopefully this year they'll start to kind of step it up. But I do think perhaps they are, you know, always going to be on the fringe
Yeah.
purely down to scaling. You know, it's a shame. Yes, they do get overlooked, but just how dominant the Marvel Legends and Black Series, that 12-inch solid line is, you know, anyone trying to come close to that doesn't really stand much of a, you know, a chance, especially when they're competing with the same figures, ultimately the
Right.
same characters. What would you rather have? Would you rather have a character which is fantastic but scales by itself? Or would you rather, you know, spend your money on expanding the line you already have? And I think that's obviously part of the reason why perhaps they aren't so, you know, prevalent. Next group here doesn't need any introduction whatsoever. Turtles had a massive resurgence, you know, in thanks in no short supply to NECA, who absolutely, you know, slayed it with all of their Turtles releases. Jason, throw us over to you, mate. What do you make of this four pack?
This is something as soon as they announced it. Well, actually, you should go back. So this originally started out as a quarter scale. Those guys are
Yep.
huge, and they
Yep.
look beautiful on the box. The design of the box was it was awesome. It reminded me of my childhood and growing up with the movies. So
Yeah.
when they announced that they were making this smaller scale and doing SDCC 18 exclusive pack, I had to get it. So fortunately, I did. And boy, I mean, it is spectacular. There's so many awesome details, awesome little. There's like a pizza box with, you know, 8 slices of pizza, mutagen, multiple hands for every figure, different bandanas. I mean, they just went all out. And for an exclusive, what you'd expect to the package design, it looks like that of an old VHS, the tape.
Yeah.
What's really great about that is the photos that they used. They look like production photos. They actually reproduced those with these figures
Oh, nice.
and shot those just for the packaging. So they went all out. And
Yeah, yeah. Well,
really,
it's great to see, you know, especially, you know, for a Comic Con exclusive, it's a big exclusive, you know, to actually have, oh, yeah, there we go, look at that, brilliant. You know, just hit the nail on the head. For a company to go all out, all those little details, the packaging as well. I love it when companies do take that into consideration. You know, some of us, perhaps we don't always take our figures out of the box. You know, I'm trying to keep a hushed voice here. Sometimes I keep them in the box. So when they do take it into consideration and the full package that you get is, you know, is as well designed. It's out there, and it really is. You know, it's no surprise to see it here. Now, yes, okay, it was a Comic-Con exclusive, and I know there's been subsequent variations. There's the GameStop exclusive version, isn't there? So you can kind of get your hands on them in other, you know, in other formats. But just for this group, we are purely focusing on, you know, Comic-Con's offering. And the final nominee, we're going to throw it back to Hasbro, and another Disney Store exclusive. Although I believe I'm right in saying this started as a Toys R Us exclusive. Before ultimately, obviously, the sad demise of Toys R Us, it led to, you know, servicing in Disney stores.
Right.
So again, I'm guessing this was quite easy to get your side, Trevor. Have you seen it about?
Yeah, plenty of them on the shelves. Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
it's a great looking figure. It's, you know, again, we got to complete the Bounty Hunters this year, and
Yeah, last, yeah.
the Legacy series. You know, got Boba Fett and IG-88. It's like this is the soft goods on this are incredible, and they really look like a little hot toy. Really good job on this.
Yeah, yeah, it's great to see again. Hasbro taken what they know is going to be a fan favorite figure. You know, like you say, completing the Bounty Hunters line. You know, whether you've been collecting from, you know, Black Series inception, or whether, like myself, you kind of joined halfway through and, you know, was thinking about, I need to get on the Black Series bounty hunters, and then you realise, oh, hang on a minute, you know, if I'm gonna go back and get Boba Fett, you know, or I'm gonna get IJ, I'm gonna get Bosk, there's a lot of money perhaps involved. So to actually, you know, to zero in on the final figure, you know, of Zuckuss, they knew they needed to deliver. They knew there's a lot of anticipation for it. You know, so again, no surprise to see it in this group. It is interesting, you know, we do have both the Gamora and Garda and both Zuckuss, two, you know, quirky characters. They are perhaps, you know, your A-list, your top tier characters. But again, that's nice to see the, you know, the other characters kind of getting the attention they deserve, the detail and the sculpt, everything, you know, the full package being afforded to them. So, you know, again, a hugely competitive group here, a very difficult choice. But we can now reveal essentially the nominee that you voted in as our best exclusive of 2018, which was, and I'm sure it comes as no surprise to many of you, it was, of course, the TMNT 4-pack from NECA. I mean, I did try to make it sound like an even playing field there, but I mean, yeah, these guys are miles ahead.
48%. That's solid win right there.
So, you know, 52% shared between, you know, 4 other contenders. So, you know, easily miles ahead. The great thing, you know, is the versatility. I mean, there's so much you can do. That's evidenced here. You know, you can have the more intricate, the more quiet solo shots where you just focus on, you know, characters you see there, you know, or you get the whole team together, and they just look like fun. I'm guessing, Jason, you'd agree with me on that. They are just fun figures to have, which I guess is, you know, the key to you know, collecting.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me is that when I look at them, they look exactly like how I remember them from the screen.
Right.
The details. I think, you know, this benefits from them actually being sculpted at 1/4.
Right. Yeah.
Probably originally, and they just kind of sized that down. So all the details, all the little freckles and the paint, the bumps on the skin. I mean, everything is just really well crafted. And you know, as you can see in some of these shots, if you take them and you scale them appropriately, it might be difficult to discern if it was a 1/4 scale or kind of this smaller scale. They just
easily,
beautifully. The lighting, with the way it hits them, the shadows it creates from the faces, they're awesome, and they're great just as a display piece, let alone something to shoot. So
I gotta say, I'm a convert, and I'll probably pick up the GameStop ones. I'm being a senior citizen of the group. You know, the movies were like, you know, just beyond me. I like the Eastman and Laird stuff, but the movies kind of passed.
It wasn't the best perfect movie. Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
It wasn't the best movie, but
yeah, well, that too. but they look so good, and they pose so. I got to pick them up just to do something with them for a couple shots.
I'm glad they're releasing them through GameStop. That's exciting.
It's a nice way, isn't it, to kind of put those exclusives into the hand of as many people as possible. You know, to have something as focused as an event exclusive, you know, let alone have it be a Comic-Con exclusive. You know, it doesn't take a genius to work out how hard it can be, you know, to secure those. So, you know, really good on NECA for, you know, taking the steps to ensure that as many people as possible, you know, can get them. As well, I think for NECA, it's a great step. They are a line who, you know, manufacture a company who are synonymous, I suppose, with Predator, Aliens. So to be able to take a step, you know, into the more light-hearted territory, to be able to do something a bit more mainstream in terms of its appeal, I think it's done them a lot of wonders last year. I mean, I know so far in the first few weeks of this year, we've seen them show off the Shredder that's coming, and I know that we're going to get more additions, you know, to this line. So I think it's done them a whole lot of good. I can't wait to see more shots like this. Every time you see a shot, you know, of these turtles, it's something new, it's something refreshing. It just goes to show just how versatile, you know, they truly are. So yeah, this year, hopefully with the game slot, we can see more and more people picking these up. So yeah, just to round out there, you guys voted the TMNT 4-pack on Comic-Con as the best exclusive of 2018. So that brings us nicely on to our next group of nominees. And for this group, we looked specifically at Best 1/6. So this is going to be Trevor's dream group. So expect to see lots of fan favorites here. So our first nominee in our Best 1/6 category is, of course, Ace Toys, Gimli. I mean, if you're surprised, you know, you really shouldn't be. If you are surprised, you haven't seen any of Trevor's, you know, work with him. Just this shot alone, fantastic stuff. 3A Steel Detective Batman. Just this, perhaps either of a surprise, something a little different, something that even myself, or perhaps wasn't really, you know, that into. I didn't really know about it until I'd seen some shots. This is here from Aldo, Senor Cronillo. So fantastic stuff here. Hot Toys Arkham Joker, a shot here for us by Alex Brooks. Which brings us on to our fourth nominee of the group, which is Hot Toys The Captain Jack Sparrow, which is the DX15 release, which came out last year, an updated version, shot here by Agent Butterman. And I believe that brings us to our final nominee, which is Hot Toys Yondu. Again, if you're surprised, you really, really shouldn't be. Just look at that face. Brilliant shot here from Ivy Watu, Tom. So, I mean, Trevor, the floor is yours. Asmus Toys Gimli, what do you think?
That's my choice for figure of the year. I mean,
yeah.
Asmus is a company is great because they really listen to their customers, and they came out with Legolas, and Legolas had you know, plastic hair, and they'll come back and they'll redo a head and they'll sell it as an extra accessory, which is fantastic. So they improve it down the line, which I'm going to assume now that they've worked out this braiding and this hair rooting that they're going to do. But this thing is incredible. I mean, the beard is incredible. The braiding on the mustache is incredible. The clothing, they do an amazing job with, and all those axes. He comes with 5 axes. They're all die cast. It's really just for, I think it was $200. I mean,
wow,
that's value. It was incredible value. Really, really good.
Yeah, sounds. I mean, Jason, I know you've had some experience with some earlier figures from Asmus last year. Am I right?
Yeah, I had let's see, the Gandalf and the orc, Grishnak.
Grishnak, yeah.
Yeah, Asmus, their figures, the detailing, they're spot on. I mean, they're as much as we love Hot Toys, just kind of as a whole, Asmus, their quality is just as good. Just like what Trevor was talking about, like with the hair rooting, the likeness, the sculpt details, and especially in the face, I think they're really, really spot on. So this one, golly, Trevor, your shots of him that I've seen are amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, if you're surprised to see it here, then you know you really shouldn't be. The shots of Trevor, you know, you have done, mate, just been fantastic. And like you say, Asmus, they are a company that they do listen to feedback. You know, they are very much aware of the toy photography community. So we do see a lot of back and forth there, which is, you know, it's great when manufacturers, they do take the time to just get to know and have that relationship, you know, with the community. Everyone benefits. The figures keep getting better and better. I know, especially since the early releases, I remember seeing, I think, some of Spencer's early work with Gandalf, and you can kind of then see the transformation and the journey that, especially the faces, the hair, like you say, Trevor, the journey that they've gone on to where they are at now. I know we've actually just gone live early today, haven't we, with the Bilbo and the Thorin piece of that is actually now live. So again, you can kind of see their journey they've taken. And it's great for them to have a line, I suppose, like Lord of the Rings under their belt. It's, you know, it's a popular line, it's a mainstay line. Yes, Jason, like you say, Hot Toys is the kind of be all end all, I suppose. When it comes to 1/6, they're always there. They're always the top dogs ultimately. So to have a company which, you know, can rival them, can stand on their own 2 feet with a popular license, you know, is really big. I'd love to see where else they go this year. I know, Trevor, we've covered their Devil May Cry figure as well. So they are starting to, you know, breaking into other licenses, and hopefully that will continue this year. So moving on to our next nominee, which is the Steel Detective Batman. I'm not too sure if either of us between us actually have any experience on hand with this figure. Is 3A in general, Trevor, yourself?
I don't have the Steel Detective Batman, but I was very, very tempted to get it. I do have the 3A Iron Man, the 3A Spider-Man, and the 3A.
Oh, nice.
Again, you haven't seen any. Well, I did take a shot at the Iron Man. But this is so cool, and I broke my Marvel rule for those 3, so I wasn't going to break the no DC rule and get this too. But it's beautiful. I mean, it's really just an interesting design, kind of almost the Gotham by Gaslight, but you know, more of a metal feel to it. Just a really cool design.
Yeah. So, Jason, yourself, you've any experience with 3A figures?
No, I have no context for the Steel Detective Batman. Like if it, lives as a comic or some kind of literature, but this figure looks amazing. I
Yeah.
love that design. It's so simple and clean.
Yeah.
And obviously this shot totally sells it for me. So if I
I
saw
think,
this in store, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would be back.
yeah, I don't think any of these have any context with 3A. Just kind of creates their own look.
It looks
Uh,
great.
Yeah. For all
Yeah.
the releases.
Yeah. So I mean, when when you pick this one out across the group, I suppose it is. I'd say a pretty even toss up between 3A and A Smiths when it comes to perhaps the underdogs, the ones where maybe people may be a little bit surprised to see them.
For
You know, I
sure.
think they've both had a fantastic year. 3A, what I love about them is that they do this stylized version. They do it so well.
Yeah.
I know sometimes stylized versions can be a bit of a off-put to people, perhaps, in today's world where people like things to be so-so, they like things to be how they know them to be. So sometimes when you have a license, particularly Batman, and you do perhaps take it a bit further. I know, as Trevor, I've seen like the Black Widow they've done, which is a little bit, heavily stylized. Those lines perhaps aren't always so popular, but to get someone like Batman, stylize him in the way they have, just look
Yeah.
fantastic. That's
It's a
evidence here.
niche. It's a
Yeah,
niche.
most
They've
definitely.
got their own kind of original creations that are very popular, the robots and the apocalypse
Yes.
figures and things like that. But I think these are really cool.
Yeah,
But it's
most
a niche.
definitely.
It's definitely a niche.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that leaves us with 3 hot toys. I mean, that's not really a surprise. Like I mentioned, they are the kind of be all end all. Ultimately, year on year, they get better. Their face sculpts get better. That said, there are times when they do really stand out. But again, in the toy photography community, we see hot toys on a daily basis. It's something which we're so used to seeing. I think sometimes you do. I mean, particularly myself. Like I say, I don't have any. Well, the only 1/6 figure I have is Sideshow's Django. So when it comes to hot toys, I don't have any to kind of base my context off other than just purely what I've seen.
Mhm.
So I think perhaps it is easy to kind of look at them all without fully taking in just how good they are, especially these 3 we have here. So the Arkham Joker, obviously from the Arkham video game series, it just looks fantastic. I think the embroidery there looks brilliant. The tailoring, like you mentioned earlier, Trevor, with the Tarkin,
Yeah.
I think that's something they've got down particularly well. I don't know if this is a figure perhaps you haven't got yourself, am I right in saying?
I do not have this, no, but it seems like everybody else in the world does.
Right,
I
yeah.
don't
Shot great by EG here, and Roll the Hard 6. Matt has shot this a lot, and
Yeah,
even Spencer. Does Spencer have this? I think too.
know.
But some amazing shots. It's also very stylized. I mean, I guess again based on the video game,
yeah.
very drawn face, but it's really a good comic representation. I kind of dig it.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, so our next of our 3 hot toys is Captain Jack Sparrow. So, like I mentioned at the top of this, is the DX15 release. So I know there has been some previous, releases in the past, but this is the most up-to-date version. Jason, what are your thoughts on Jack Sparrow?
Man, just initial impressions. And I've seen Agent Butterman's shots of this figure, and they look like they're straight from the film. I mean,
Yes.
it looks absolutely perfect. And all the details and the clothing and the necklaces and the beads and all that, the facial expressions, that's nearly a perfect figure in my opinion,
Yeah.
from what I've seen.
Yeah. Trevor, do you have any context on pricing? Do you know whereabouts that figure sat?
I should, because I looked at it and I think I blanked it out. I blacked it out because I didn't want to buy it. I wanted to
Right.
buy it, but I had to curb my my 1/6 spending last year, and I'm gonna probably kick myself that I didn't get this, because they had a DX before with Captain Jack, which was a great figure, and this I think blows that out of the water. Facial
Right.
sculpt on this is incredible. The clothing, the detail, like Jason was saying, is just amazing. It's an iconic character. He's not playing the character anymore, so it's probably going to be a hot collectible, and it's probably, haven't checked, but it's probably gone up in price quite a bit.
Sure enough.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, yeah, like I say, if this shot from Agent Butterman, Jason, to your point, and how it does look just like it's come straight from the film, which is credit not only Agent Butterman, the photography side of it, but also credit, just to the figure itself.
Yeah.
I think that is a point that I regularly need to remind myself of when it comes to hot toys. Is yes, they are fantastic figures in themselves, but there's still a lot of work that goes into make these shots. I think sometimes it's easy to think, well, the base figure is fantastic, you can't go wrong. I think that isn't perhaps always true. You can kind of always go wrong, as it were. So kudos to everyone we see working with 1/6. We've got three of the best here. I know Alex Brooks, he does a lot of work as a Hot Toys photo blogger, obviously a columnist in our magazines. So you'll get to see a lot more Hot Toys this year through him. But again, that's a line just fantastic. I'm building here. I'm leading into Yondu, which is there competition for it? Yeah, like I said earlier, when it comes to the faces, we're so used to them being on point. It is easy to let that pass you by on the news feed. You just keep on scrolling. But this one, I definitely sat up. Just fantastic. Jason, do you remember when you first saw the reveal of Yondu?
Yeah, I do. I think what really sticks with my mind is actually Tom Iwatu's his shots, his portraits of Yondu. Man, they look so lifelike. They look so real. And so again, like you said, that's credit to Tom as a photographer, but also to Hot Toys and the sculptor. I forgot who sculpted it, but it looks amazing. And of course, all the clothing, the details, the mixture of kind of like the leather, kind of soft goods with kind of the harder, almost like armor bits and stuff. And then the little trail that it comes with.
A really nice little touch, like you say. So yeah, Trevor, what did you make? I mean, I know you're dying to get your thoughts in on the Yondu. What do you make of him?
Yeah, this is incredible, and another one that I again curbed my need to have. It wasn't easy though.
Yeah,
being in a lot of the 1/6 groups and things like that, there's always, you see a good sculpt and people will still find a way to tear it down and find that little thing that's wrong with it.
Right.
I didn't see a lot of that with this one. This one was pretty spot on. Right from the beginning, as soon as they released it and showed it off, I think was in San Diego. Maybe, I think it was San Diego. And everybody was just losing their minds. So they really knocked it out of the park with this.
Yeah. So back to the point of taking notice of these figures and how easy it is going to blend in. As face sculpts go, I think it's easily one of the best that we've ever seen. So hopefully this year, I mean, it's funny when I think about 2019, or this year, I should say, when I think about 2019 and you think about, well, how much further can they go? Where is the limit? Where can they go? Because you look at Yondu, you look at Jack Sparrow there, and the likenesses of the actors, is fantastic. What it does ultimately leave us with is 5 hugely strong nominees here. So we can reveal that you voted as the best 1/6 of 2018. Is it a surprise? Do we need the reveal card at all? Here we go. It is the Hot Toys Yondu. I mean, what more can we say? Fantastic figure, 40%. So, and again, another winner who's taken a massive chunk of the overall votes. But like we say, all the points we touched on there isn't really a surprise. Again, 4 shots here that show again how versatile these figures are. I know it's where we keep come back to, but I think it's it's the consistent point across all the nominees and how versatile they can be. In our community, yes, we have photographers, we also have collectors, and they don't necessarily, always mix. So you people like myself, who perhaps I collect, I keep either in box or I display out of box. So you think of the value on that basis. He looks fantastic. I just imagine how fantastic he would look on a shelf like Trevor, like how you've got yours displayed behind you. Yeah. And then on the photography side, like we're seeing here, just how fantastic. So Trevor, what are your closing thoughts on Yondu?
It's well deserved. I mean, personally, I think Gimli was a better figure, but
right.
overall, but you can't deny this is a fantastic sculpt, and the popularity of Guardians of the Galaxy and this character in particular, you can't deny it, and it's well deserved.
Yeah, most definitely. So Jason, you agree with the community's voting on this?
Yeah, I think so. It's like we've already discussed. It's an amazing figure, and again, they look great in the shots. When I saw this up close and personal at Comic-Con last year in San Diego, it was a standout. I went back and looked at it a couple times, so I agree with it. It's a good choice.
Okay, Brilliant. Yeah, so there we are. So you guys, that's the community. You vote with the Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 2, Yondu from Hot Toys as the best 1/6 that 2018 had to offer. It brings us nicely on to our next group of nominees. So in this category, we're looking at best 1/12, which, I mean, how do you do that? How do you pull everything from 2018 into 5? Somehow we did. So if we kick off, let's have a look at our 5 nominees for the best 1/12 figure of 2018. So we have the Revoltech Carnage, part of the amazing Yamaguchi line, which is, you know, really, really popular. The articulation alone, which we'll get to. Our next nominee in this category was Mezco Toys, their Nightmare Batman, which perhaps a bit more poignant on the day we were recording, obviously with news of Ben Affleck, which we'll get to as well. Bandai Tamashii Nation, the Iron Man Infinity War version. I mean, just look at that picture alone, fantastic detailing. Our 4th nominee for Best 1/12 is 1000 Toys Synthetic Humans. So here we go, a bit of an underdog, perhaps one perhaps people aren't expecting to see here, but, you know, we'll discuss its merits shortly. And we close out with another brilliant figure, Bandai Tamashii Nation's Thanos SH Figure Arts figure, shot here by Tan, our very own Tiny Epic Photos. Okay, so, you know, again, 5 contenders. I know we poured for hours trying to figure out the best 1/12. You consider the lines, you consider how prevalent they are, you know, especially with Hasbro's releases, Bandai as well. But we did try to, you know, let's look as far afield as we can. Let's pull in, you know, ones that perhaps we aren't too familiar with, but are still pioneer in their own field, which is, you know, where I think we are with the Revoltech, the amazing Yamaguchi line. I think when it comes to articulation, those guys are knocking out absolutely crazy things. I mean, the first instance I knew of those guys was their Spider-Man release. Just the expressions, the articulation alone on that figure. So, you know, it's no surprise to see the carnage here. Am I right in saying, Jace, do you have any experience with Revoltech at all in the Amazing Yamaguchi?
But I
No,
do,
but what do you make of the pictures?
I was going to say, I do appreciate the, you know, the stylization and
Yeah.
also the articulation. The photos I've seen look really great.
Yeah. So Trevor, what about yourself? Any Revoltech in your collection?
No, another one I'm trying to stay away from.
Yeah.
With all my might. They're really, really cool looking, and especially these Carnage and the Venom. Just all the details and stuff. These really, really work well with this stylization. I like the Wolverine. I've seen the Wolverine. That's pretty cool. It may be a little too stylized for me, but these look great. And you can even mix these with you know, Marvel Legends and things too.
Yeah, and that's the good thing, you know, the scaling. You know, like you say, Carnage and Venom, the Symbiote, it's something about it, isn't it? Something about their design, how fluid their designs are, and how that then translate into, you know, the wild class's hyper articulation here. It surpasses, you know, anything else in that 1/12 line. So, you know, a very, very worthy contender. So we now move on to the Nightmare Batman. So this shot here is from our own Spencer. I know he's a huge Mezco Batman collector. So the day we are putting this video together, there's the rumbling. I'm not sure if it's 100% written in stone official that Ben Affleck has done with the role. I know there's been some tweets and some confusion. I know that, you know, Warner Brothers have announced, you know, the plans for the Batman film, as they're calling it, and it does look so that Ben Affleck won't be, you know, reprising the role, you know, in that. So, you know, you look at Nightmare Batman, and this could be, you know, one of the last figures we get, you know, of Ben Affleck's incarnation. So, Jason, you have hands-on experience with Mezco. What do you make of this Nightmare Batman figure?
This is one that if I was going to own a Mezco, this would be the first one I would buy.
Right.
And I probably can't afford it now because I know it's a price. Details are great. The soft goods are great. All this, you know, speaking with Spencer, it's definitely one of his favorite, and I can see why. So
I mean, you know, going back to an earlier point about how, you know, that Dan made, when you consider the detail there, you could very easily say, well, that's a Hot Toy. You know, if you squint a little bit, yeah, that's a Hot Toy. When it comes to the detail they're packing in, which I think is obviously one of Mezco's, you know, the biggest selling points. So I think it's why every now and then when perhaps you do hit a bump in the road, I know the Catwoman had a few quality control issues. I know Sam on the team, I think he had a bit of issues with his. I think it's why they can weather that quite easily. And also just the fact that they have so many pre-orders, so many figures releasing. But, you know, another solid figure. So we move across to the Bandai Tamashii Nations, the Iron Man Infinity War figure. I mean, if I had to pick my figure of the year from this group and for best 112, I think I would go with this one. The detailing alone, the articulation is fantastic. I think it's worth pointing out its competition when you look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends version. Yes, okay, that Legends version is fantastic, and people are always going to say, well, yeah, of course, you know, Bandai, they're more expensive, so you'd expect them to be better. I mean, yes, okay, that's a very valid point, but just based on having the two figures in your hands, you know, the detail here is fantastic. Trevor, I know you said you got the whole, you're trying to get some of the other characters. The Iron Man, is the one you've got or one you're looking to pick up?
I do have this, yes, and it
Right.
is incredible looking, and you know, what sets it apart is, yes, I mean, it's more expensive, but the you know, the ability to switch out the hands, different poses, and just the detailing and the movement in this is, I think it's miles ahead of the Marvel Legends stuff.
Yeah,
really
yeah.
nice.
No, most definitely, most definitely. Yeah, like I say, I think whenever people hear that argument, they do always pull it back to the price, and you know, of course, that's fair.
Yes.
And like I said myself, you know, if you are in a position where you are being a bit more careful with what you pick up when it comes to your money, what do I pick up? Yes, okay, you are, I suppose, going to lean towards. In most cases, you're going to lean towards Marvel Legends because you're going to get like what 2, 3 figures
Sure.
depending on pricing. You know, for this, so you can have 3 characters in your line as opposed to 1. If you are really looking for that standout line, I mean, Iron Man, he just suits Bandai's details set up so well. I mean, I know I've got another one of their Hall of Armor releases here as well, and you know, whether it's just that character, but I know across the line they're fantastic, but that character itself, you know, translates so well. So again, we move on to what is very, very much so the underdog. I mean, you just take a look at the other 4; they're all big franchises between them. You know, Marvel and DC. 1,000 Toys synthetic. I can't say probably the synthetic human. There we go. So, Trevor, your thoughts on this figure?
This, you know, I've only played with it. You know, I don't have one, and I wanted to buy one. I was at the New York Comic Con, and I was with somebody who was buying one, and I thought about it. They're expensive. The little guys are expensive. I mean, I think they're kind of dropping a little bit now, for whatever reason. But man, the articulation and the balance in these things, you can put them in so many poses, in incredibly dynamic poses, and they'll hold their form, and they'll stand up, and they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool looking. I just didn't have much of a use for it, but I do think they're pretty cool, and if I could get one on sale, I probably will.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Jason, do you agree with that? Is it something you would pick up, you know, if the price is right, or is it something that perhaps you're not too interested in?
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of sit the same as Trevor. They're, you know, friends that I've spoken to who own it. They just rave about this figure in particular, and for the same points that Trevor mentioned. So it's not necessarily something that's on my radar. I like. Kind of like Trevor. I don't really know how it would fit in with my photography. It would probably be its own thing. But because of such the positive reviews I've heard firsthand, it would kind of pump me to definitely consider kind of adding this to the collection. So.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, and it's a worthy contender. You know, just to be here alone, you know, is proof that it can go toe to toe. The articulation, like you say, Trevor, is just fantastic. And it's great to, you know, to see a company like 1,000 Toys, which perhaps some people don't really know of. You know, I know they've had the Iron Giant release since then, so again, that's perhaps put them more on the map. But you know, a company where perhaps they aren't so well known, you know, can still, you know, go to toe to toe when it comes to articulation, when it comes to detail, with, you know, some of the other guys here, like we see in Mezco, Revoltech, Bandai particular.
I'd love to see them take this someplace and apply, you know, the body type to some more original stuff, you know, that's maybe a little bit more stylized, or not stylized, but has a little bit more substance to it, some clothing or something, you know.
Yeah, most definitely. That'd be really cool to see. But I mean, we are left with the Thanos figure arts here. The second figure arts in the group. Again, it's no big surprise that it's here. Something that people really, really were waiting on. Again, I will just contrast it to the others on the market at the time. So you did have the Diamond Select Thanos, which we touched on earlier. A fantastic bulky figure. I mean, the price of that, I picked it up here in the UK. That was £20. So when you consider that alone, it was, you know, it was good enough for us to deem it one of the best exclusives. And then you have a look at the Thanos. I think I'm right in saying he sat around the 80, 90 and maybe a little bit more here in the UK in terms of how how the market is here. I'm thinking the price is probably around the same for you guys, around just under $100.
Yeah, I think it started out around the 90 mark. I think if you pre-ordered it.
Right. Okay. And something interesting as well. Just so for context, is it something that you guys do you see these in shops? Is it something you see like in person, or is it just purely online?
Go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, I've got this figure. It's really nice. So I think the main thing that's going for it is the sculpt. So you've got like all these really, really nice details in the face. Multiple heads, of course, like what you'd expect from the SH Figure Arts. Honestly, I think the like the skin and stuff, it feels a little smooth and feels a little shiny. And I kind of wish there was a little bit more detail there, especially for the
I'd agree with that.
Point.
Yeah.
So if some of the detailing and shadowing and stuff kind of was translated onto the arms, and there's a little bit more attention to the body overall, I think it would just elevate the character, and probably
most definitely
you almost you could probably get another $20 for it, and it would be worth it. Said that, the figure is great. The figure looks awesome in shots. It scales. He's just towering over all the other figures in the line, with the exception of Hulk, of course. But he's great.
But like I say, it's a very good point you make in terms of having him with other figures, and I think that's part of his appeal. Of course, the Avengers, Infinity War, we are now moving to Endgame. He's such a hugely popular character, at the time. So I think that's why so many people, just wanted him, regardless, like you say, regardless of the intricate details. I think that was overlooked quite easily, just because people were so excited to have him. To actually have a movie Thanos, as opposed to perhaps the comic ones, which we have had before. I know that Marvel Select did a Thanos previously. We've had various Marvel Legends iterations, again, all based loosely on comic art. So to have one from the MCU, the versatility, there we go, our buzzword of this video. Again, just how easy it is, to drop him into scenes. It's just fantastic, isn't he? So again, one I can speak from experience, fantastic detailing. The gauntlet is great, and the difference in the open palm, the closed fist gauntlet, that's a nice little variation, nice little kind of addition there. I do agree we could have seen more detail, and we could have seen some more texture on the arms, and the face as well. How Bandai print that face, it looks fine until you get too close, if you agree, where some it's not as bad as others. I think helmeted characters are fine, they don't have the problem, but anything where they're printing that face, you get a bit too close and it does kind of fall apart. I think the Bandai, well, especially this Thanos, in my experience, the figure I have here with me, it's great, but you get a bit too close and the face does kind of fall apart. But I mean, Trevor, one you have yourself as well?
I do, yeah, and I would agree with what Jason said, and even the coloring I think could have been, the purple seems a little light sometimes. There was a lot of debate as to whether this was worth the money next to the 3-pack Marvel Legends Thanos. It was basically, it came down to articulation, and being able to swap out the hands and the face and stuff, which is, to me, for photography, I like it. If I'm putting it on the shelf, I'd probably go with the Marvel Legends.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, so again, I guess the theme of this is just how strongly, contending this group is. So, from Mezco, 2 here from Bandai, 1,000 toys. So like we've mentioned before, perhaps the underdog, perhaps the one people don't really know much about. Hopefully that will change this year. And Revoltech, I mean, as we speak, we've just put up the Amazing Yamaguchi Deathstroke gallery, so that's now live. So again, a character where they've taken taken him in the stylized direction, but not too much. So articulation does seem to be, their strong point. Whether this year we'll see them compete a little bit more with Bandai, I don't know. I think they kind of, again, they exist in their niche where if you want a hyper articulation, you want to be able to go the extra mile with the figures, then they tick all those boxes. But yeah, so there we are. That is our 5 nominees for Best 112 of 2018. And we are excited to reveal who you actually voted in as the best 112, essentially. So we can reveal it is perhaps surprisingly to some, it was the Mezco Nightmare Batman. See, this is 25%. So compared to some of the others who have had 40, 50%, it was a lower overall percentage.
Tough
but
category.
still enough to come. Yeah, exactly. Again, in this enlarged picture here, you can see the detailing on that trench coat. It just looks fantastic. Whether the aftermarket value of this figure will now be affected with the news that Ben Affleck perhaps is leaving the role. It always kind of seems to be the way, doesn't it, when an actor leaves, or we're not going to get any iteration before. Trevor, like you mentioned before, with the Jack Sparrow figure, it changes their value somewhat in retrospect. But I mean, it's interesting when we were actually talking about this figure, Trevor. We were speaking about the images for this, page in particular, how they all gravitate towards that same tone. Yet they still manage to stand their own feet. They still stand out. So again, yes, the figure is so, confined to that one scene in the film. So he doesn't have perhaps, that depth we'd like to see from other suits essentially. But I mean, the shots
possibly,
here
possibly the best scene in the film.
It's one of his highest points. I mean, not to incite people too much, a friendly awards presentation. But I mean, yes, most definitely, one of the highlights.
Batman with goggles and a trench coat and military gear. I mean, this is what you want out of an alternate Batman look. So
it looks fantastic.
Really cool looking. Again, another thing that I would get if I maybe liked the franchise a little more, and but it's beautiful, and the shots are great, and it's Mezco, and it'll definitely go up in value despite anything because it's hard to get. So
yeah, most definitely. Jason, any final thoughts on our winner?
Again, it's beautiful. I love these shots. I love that trench coat. He looks so cool. Goggles, gun. I mean that's all you need. So
exactly what I was saying. Like Trevor said, it ticks all the boxes for the kind of alternate style that we'd like to see. So yeah, another very worthy winner. Like we say, 25% of the overall vote, but it did enough essentially to convince the community, to convince you guys out there that this was the best 112 for 2018 according to the community. Which brings us on to, which I believe is our closing category of nominees.
Nope, not yet.
No, not yet. I'm jumping the gun here. Here we go. Getting too excited, getting too giddy. Oh, of course.
Oh, goodness.
Best alternative scale. Now, this one, again, full of nominees which are perhaps a bit left field, ones that perhaps a lot of people may not be so aware of. So let's open this up. Let's run through them. So our opening Best Alt Scale nominee for 2018 was Beast Kingdom's Aquaman, part of their Dynamic Action Heroes range. We'll get right into that in a moment. Another fantastic shot here from Dan, Tiny Epic Photos. Moving nicely on to, again, this one might be quite surprising to some people, the Good Smile Company Black Panther Nendoroid figure. Like I say, surprising, but we'll see. Thanos Machinations, their Captain America Maisho manga figure, shot here by Trevor himself. Beautifully, I must say. On to our next, the 1,000 Toys Iron Giant. Again, like we mentioned in the previous category, a company perhaps people don't really know about. So hopefully this figure has helped open some eyes, put them on the map a little bit more. And that brings us into our final nominee, which is the NECA Predator Ultimate Ahab. So this is shot for us by Palov Photography. A brilliant shot here. So let's move on to our discussion here. So we break it down, best alternative scale. So, let's just get into generalities with this one here. Aquaman, Beast Kingdom. I mean, this one I can speak from personal point of view. I mean, Trevor, I know we managed to work Beast Kingdom earlier in the year. We kind of got these figures in hand ourselves. Fantastic concept, especially the Aquaman. I know ones you dealt with are perhaps a bit early on in their production lifetime. But this Aquaman, fully formed, fully released figure was brilliant. Fantastic articulation. The first face sculpt, which mercifully isn't shown here, was just horrendous. And it seemed as though, in the final day, they came up with a better face sculpt and quickly slid it in the box, which is very much how it's presented. It's just thrown in the box. But that's all forgiven because it looks fantastic. A great likeness of Momoa. Yes, it's the scale which is going to hold it back here. So that's that sent down. Move on to the Nendoroid figure. I'm guessing not a figure that any three of us have, or a line, I suppose, any three of us have. They are, very stylized.
I have a couple of the Nendoroid, the Stormtroopers and the Darth Vader.
Oh, of course, yes, the Star Wars one. Yeah, I really want one with it. Yeah.
Real pain in the ass to put the hands on and things like that.
They're
they're super cool to shoot.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to the My Show manga, Captain America here. So again, different from the movie realization figures. This is purely based on comic interpretation, not based in too much on screen time. So again, a figure. The line basically is lived off masked heroes. We saw it with the Star Wars line. We saw it with the Marvel line where they pick an Iron Man, War Machine, Spider-Man, the mask. So to be able to bring in someone like Captain America, where they have to then think about the face. I mean, Trevor, what did you make of that little change in the line for them?
I love this line. Anything that they put out, I will probably buy. I love
Right.
Samurai, and I wasn't going to go to the Marvel side, and I think the Captain America was the one that tipped me over the edge, and then I went
Right.
and got the Iron Man and Spider-Man, which was
Yeah.
okay. But I love this Captain America.
Yeah, I mean, it's great detail, and I think some characters they translate very well to the style, and some perhaps we've seen don't translate so well. I think this is one of the ones that does. Jason, is this one you have hands on yourself as well?
I do. This is probably one of my favorite lines in terms of just it being, an established property,
Yeah,
Marvel,
yeah,
and just stylizing them and making this line that just is so creative and imaginative. And all the figures, yeah, there's some that are better than others, but all the figures, when you have them in hand and you feel the weight of them and you see the details, like especially the scales on Captain America, or the details in the weapons of like Iron Man's guns, rocket pack,
yeah,
even the Star Wars line, everything is just really, really nice. I mean, there's some issues, like sometimes if you pose them too much, the waist might come apart, but it's really easy to put them back together. So
yeah.
they're forgiving. But, just like in this shot that Trevor set up, it looks amazing. And I love kind of that whole Japanese kind of feudal style.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, I mean, like you say, the feudal style, they've really taken it, they've really ran with it. They've made it their own. It's nice to see such an established, artistic tone, like you say, the feudal Japan, all the imagery that creates, and how they can, yes, okay, not all the time, but how they can more often than not, blend it with established characters that we know. So like you see here with Captain America and Iron Man, works really well. So quickly onto the 1,000 Toys Iron Giant. Again, like I mentioned before, company where know about. I particularly didn't know much about these at all until Spencer shared a full behind the scenes on our website actually about this shot and about this figure. Again, I know Mondo released a version previously to this, so again, just hugely popular. I know we saw him have actually quite large kind of, I wouldn't really call it a cameo, a bit beyond the cameo in Ready Player One. So it's good to see the character kind of get new attention, new eyes on from a different audience, and then perhaps previously used to the character. So yeah, another fantastic fantastic figure, I should say. The detail looks to be there, the articulation looks to be there, all the boxes you kind of expect to be ticked on a character of this sort, is there. And our final nominee for this group is the NECA Ultimate Ahab Predator. I know we mentioned earlier on that this is a line that NECA are very much synonymous for. This is the go-to Predator aliens. So again, the detail they pack into these guys is fantastic. I think sometimes you could maybe accuse them of releasing figures which are very similar. I think that's fair to say, and slight variation. I'm sure that probably people some riled up, but there we go. That's my take on it. I think sometimes they do cut it a bit close in terms of how close each figure is to one another. This one here, shot by Pala Photography, just looks fantastic. I mean, Trevor, have you got any of the NECA Predator line yourself?
I do not. I have some aliens. I'm not a huge
Right.
Predator fan, but yeah, I will say that even though they do come out with a lot of them that look similar, the completists want them all. So
Of course, of course.
the demand is there, I guess.
Of
I think
course.
this one in particular looks really cool, and I've attempted to get a couple of them, but I again, control is the word for 2019.
Of course. Okay, so there we are. Those are our 5 nominees for the best alternative scale. So the way we went around this, essentially we looked at anything that wasn't 1/12 and wasn't 1/6. So we've got various scales here from Beast Kingdoms 1/8 right down to really small. I'm not sure what we'd class the Black Panther there as, but a good mix. So this one would be interesting to see actually who you voted, which we can now reveal. So here we go. The best alternative scale figure of 2018, as voted for by yourselves, by the community. was, there we go, Spencer will be happy when he sees this, is the 1,000 Toys Iron Giant. You know, like we said, pictures do this figure a world of justice. The articulation, you know, you can see there, the elbows, the shoulders, the head, the neck. I think what you'd expect from the figure of this nature, you know, the robotic nature of it, it does everything. I haven't heard a bad word about it. I know Trevor raves about it. Sorry, Spencer raves about it. So, I mean, here we go, more pictures there just to kind of seal the deal. Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Such a fantastic character where you can go into the emotional side of it. I know, Jason, we've done some stuff before with the Mondo version. I think that's been a couple of years ago now, where you can kind of really pull out and extract the emotion of the character. Yeah. But, you know, you can also go full action, as we see there with the TIE Fighter, you know, and kind of go the other end. So I think that's why the character is just so, you know, so popular. So any more, any closing thoughts on it?
I was going to say, with this, I do have the Mondo figure, and it's like 16 inches tall. It's a gigantic,
right.
Obviously. It's a gigantic figure. And so what I'm really, when they announced this at the smaller scale, that got me excited because I was anxious to see how people would, it seems like it'd be easier to shoot. You know, having large figures, 1/6 scale, larger than that, 1/4, it's tough to shoot. So to have something that's more manageable, something that scales well with other props and like with the trees that Spencer's got, you can pick up at hobby shops. I think you'll see more. And then with the resurgence of Iron Giant and Ready Player One, I'm excited to see more of this figure being shot in the community. Everything, you know, when I see these shots, I have to ask: is this the Mondo?
Yeah.
Or is this the 1,000 Toys? So
yeah, exactly. So that's, you know, a nice big compliment. You know, ultimately a compliment to the guys at 1,000 Toys that they're able to, you know, Mondo again. It's a very popular platform. So, you know, like I say, I'm sure those views, that's a massive compliment. So there we are. That is our best alternative scale figure of 2018. Which I believe I'm right in saying now we are on our final category before I jumped the gun earlier. So, of course, here we go. Figure of the year. This is no easy question to tackle. Oh, look, here we go. Exclu Toys Gimli. I wonder who put that one forward. It was, of course, Trevor. I'm sure he has very valid reasons. Of course he does. Look at the figure here. Just, you know, looks fantastic. I'm a believer. We mentioned him time and time again. So here we go. Bandai Imagination, the Hulk Infinity War figure was released in the tail end of 2018. Our third nominee is, here we go, NECA Pennywise, short here by Patrick Wonderpunk. This is from the 2017 It movie. So that leaves us with two more nominees in this group. The first of which is Hasbro's A Thing. Here we go. I mean, Trevor, don't worry, he'll start in a minute talking about this because this is one he loves. And we brings us to our final. Here we go. And another non-surprise with Hot Toys Yondu popping up again. So I'm going to throw this straight over to Trevor. I mean, two of these I know you absolutely love. So the Gimli, let's start there again. Why do you feel that, you know, compared to all the others here, that it's the best? Not only was it, you know, arguably one of the best 1/6, but why do you think it's one of the best figures of the year?
Yeah, there's 3 or 4. I mean, this is a good category. There's a lot. There's all of these are fantastic. There was one missing that came out toward the end of the year that I'm sure we'll address somewhere. But Gimli, I mean, I'm a 1/6 guy, but I mean, this thing from top of the head to the bottom of the feet was a great figure, and a value. I mean, in terms of a 1/6 character, they're expensive. $200, rooted hair, die-cast metal weapons. The detail in the clothing is just amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I'm sold. You don't need to tell me anymore. I'm definitely sold. So the Bandai Imagination is the Hulk. So again, someone I was able to get my hands on. Mercifully, yeah, there we go. Look at him. Fantastic. Yes, like I mentioned, he did release in the tail end of the year, but he blew people away very, very quickly. We started to see a lot of him in the community, and all of the comments I've seen, you know, in particular, have been, you know, positive. I think I've seen people describe him as, you know, the best Hulk figure that is available, which I think, you know, is more than fair. Just a brilliant figure. Articulation, the way that he scales, the way that he fits in with every other Infinity War Bandai figure. You know, it's brilliant. So the next nominee actually was brought to our attention by Patrick Wonderbunk. So this is the NECA Pennywise figure. So again, not one that perhaps I'd paid too much attention to throughout the year. I know I've seen it pop up now and then, but one that, you know, upon close inspection, a very worthy contender here. Fantastic. You know, look at that, the likeness on there. I mean, the shot does it, you know, brilliant justice.
Now, wait a minute, Jack. You only saw this pop up now and then?
Well, maybe that's a phrase I shouldn't have used there in my naivety. Yes, okay. Yeah, we did see this pretty much every other post. I tried a bit mildly there. Yeah, so perhaps every other post we saw this figure. But again, you know, once you then do stop and take a closer look, it's, you know, it's very easy to see why it was so widespread. Jason, is this a figure you'd be interested in yourself? The license?
Honestly, I don't really do the kind of the horror stuff.
Right.
Golly, like, you know, obviously a lot of the NECA products, they kind of lean a little bit more to that darker kind of tone, which I completely appreciate. And again, you know, seeing this figure show up in my feed and all the toy photographers, you know, just really pulling this out and making it shine. It's a stunning figure, and I don't want to watch that movie.
Oh, you have to.
Oh, it's so creepy. But just that right there, I mean, that expression, that says it all. So
yeah, and you, like I say, it was seen a lot, but once you actually then stop and, you know, take stock of it, it's clear to see why it was so widespread. Trevor, another one of your favourites from the year, the Thing from Hasbro's Marvel Legends line. I mean, just looking at this image alone, the detail in there, yeah, it looks fantastic. What are your thoughts on him?
I think he's my favorite because I went to, I think, every Walgreens in the tri-state area to try and find him. Finally got him. And it's the hands down the best Marvel Legends figure that they put out in maybe ever. It's really, really well constructed. It's solid, and it has motion. You know what I mean? The motion is great. It's got swappable heads. It's just a beautiful figure. They did the detail in the rocks. They did a stunning job of this thing.
Yeah, most definitely.
You know,
that's what the thing to say. You bring it back to the price. You know, like you say, the availability, perhaps we did have to work a little bit harder to get it. But, you know, taking it back to what we said earlier, our exclusives, you know, in that case, when you do have to work a bit harder, you know, it's always worth it when you get a figure, you know, as good as him. So that brings us on to our final nominee. Again, no surprises here. Hot Toys Yondu, the second of our 1/6 in Figure of the Year. You know, what can we say? It hasn't already been said. A fantastic sculpt, fantastic, like you say earlier, you know, top to bottom, brilliant package all round. The shots just do him no end of justice, especially, you know, another one here from Tom. So brilliant stuff. So hugely contentious group. So, I mean, all that's left for us to do is, with all the relevant fanfare, of course, here we go. It's a Figure of the Year voted for by you, the toy community. Here's a drum roll. Can you hear it? It is, of course, Yondu. There we go.
That's surprising.
Yeah, so perhaps surprising. Again, I think, you know, when, like I spoke about earlier, here we go, it's 33%, a third. So, you know, a pretty solid showing. Again, it's the versatility, which is the buzzword and probably word I'm now going to use every single day for the rest of my life. But, you know, it's when you look at the figures in the group and you think about toy photography, you think how easy it is for some of them to lean into that. You know, I think 1/6, perhaps some people, you know, just purely collect them and they are displayed, like Trevor, you've got them behind you. You know, that I think is a huge dynamic, a huge part of that whole 1/6, you know, scale, is that they just display so well. So just to have a 1/6 figure where you can really push your articulation, you get some fantastic shots. You know, I mean, is there any surprise really? I don't know. I think looking at these shots, I don't think it's much of a surprise.
I'd have to say I'm a little surprised that it won this category.
I mean, there was a lot of competition. But yeah, Jason, what do you make? Do you think he's worthy winner Figure of the Year overall?
I mean, obviously in the category, I think it's like for 1/6, duly, you know, worthy of winning that category. I think it works for this. I mean, it's really up to what everybody else thinks too. Like, and we have to take into consideration, is it because of toy photography? Is it because of just your appreciation of the overall sculpt? Is it for display? And I think all three of those things, it works very well. So when you compare a 1/6 to, you know, the Legends or even the Bandai stuff. Like, they look good, but they're more specifically for, you know, either collecting or for kind of lower end options.
Yeah, most definitely.
Photography. So, you know, it is what it is. I think all the finalists in this category are worthy of kind of toy of the year. But
yeah, I'd agree with that most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant.
I have to say that I think, you know, I'm surprised that it's won sixth. I mean, I think maybe Tom won this category for Yondu. But I mean, the popularity of that Hulk and even the Marvel Legends thing is surprising that didn't pull it out. I'm really surprised it's a 1/6 expensive figure, but I mean, there's no denying it looks great.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing we could speak to that is that look at the Hulk and the Thing. They were really like third, fourth quarter releases.
True.
So that could be a part of, you know, people may not have been able to actually get their hands on it.
True.
Some people haven't until, you know, recently.
I'd agree with that availability wise as well. Like you say, you know, Hot Toys, I suppose, are perhaps a bit more easy, more places to pick them up. Like you say, Trevor, when you had to try and, you know, drive around to pick up, you know, the Thing. You know, so yeah, I'd agree with that. It's like Jason says, every single nominee here is, you know, more than worthy of its place. And like you say, there is, you know, a whole load of facets when it comes to determining, you know, what the community think is their favourite. So, you know, in conclusion, this is the figure that the community has voted as their 2018 figure of the year. So that brings us on quite nicely now to the close of our presentation today. So yeah, we've reached the end of the awards presentation. So a massive thank you goes out to everyone who took part. This is obviously our inaugural awards. The first time trying this. It was a lot of work pulling it together. So really thank you everyone who took the time to vote, to comment, to leave their thoughts, let us know what you thought was the best. And thank you also to everyone listed here. These are the guys who were kind enough to let us use their photos. Like Trevor mentioned there, I mean, some of the photos here just did absolute wonders for the figures. So many thanks. A special thanks also to Jason for taking the time to be with me today, and also to Trevor. So thank you guys. And don't forget, you can obviously see much more of what we do on exclucollective.com. You can follow us on Exclu Collective on our social feeds as well. So this is something we're hoping to do more often in video cast and format. So many thanks again, and we hope to see you again next time on Exclu Cast. Thank you.